Just 8 weeks. That is all it takes for meditation to physically reshape the structure of your brain. Not metaphorically. Not symbolically. Literally, measurably, scientifically documented changes to the gray matter inside your skull. Harvard researchers proved this in a landmark study, and the implications are far more profound than anything the wellness industry has ever told you. 8 weeks of daily meditation, and your brain is never the same again. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly what happens inside your brain when you meditate, which specific regions change and why that matters for your daily life, and the one finding from neuroscience that completely overturned what scientists believed about the adult brain for over a century. We will also cover why some of the most high-performing people on Earth have made this a non-negotiable daily practice, and it has nothing to do with relaxation. To understand what meditation does to the brain, you first need to understand a concept that scientists once considered impossible. For most of the 20th century, the dominant belief in neuroscience was that the adult brain was fixed. You were born with a certain number of neurons, they developed through childhood and adolescence, and by adulthood, the structure was essentially locked in place. Damage it and it stayed damaged. The circuitry you had was the circuitry you were stuck with. This was the accepted consensus for generations of researchers. Then came neuroplasticity. The discovery, confirmed through decades of accumulating research, that the brain retains the ability to reorganize itself throughout life. New neural connections form. Existing pathways strengthen or weaken based on use. Brain regions can literally grow or shrink depending on your habits and experiences. A London study on taxi drivers famously found that the hippocampus, the region associated with spatial navigation, was measurably larger in experienced cabbies than in the general population. The brain had physically grown in response to repeated mental activity. Meditation researchers began asking a simple but revolutionary question. If driving a taxi can grow your hippocampus, what does sustained meditative practice do to the brain? The answers they found over the following decades would transform our understanding of human potential entirely. The most cited study in this field comes from Sarah Lazar and her team at Massachusetts General Hospital, affiliated with Harvard Medical School. Published in 2011, the study took participants with no prior meditation experience and enrolled them in an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. Participants meditated an average of 27 minutes per day. Before and after MRI scans revealed something extraordinary. Gray matter density had increased in several key brain regions, most notably the left hippocampus, the posterior cingulate cortex, the temporoparietal junction, and the cerebellum. These are regions associated with learning, memory, emotional regulation, self-awareness, and perspective-taking. Simultaneously, gray matter density in the amygdala decreased. The amygdala is your brain's threat detection center, the region responsible for triggering the stress response, the fight-or-flight reaction that floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. It got smaller. And that reduction correlated directly with participants reporting lower levels of stress in their daily lives. The brain had physically changed to reflect a calmer, more regulated internal state. But here is what nobody talks about when they share this study. The control group, people who did not meditate, showed none of these changes over the same 8-week period. This was not the brain naturally evolving over time. This was a direct, documented response to the practice itself. So what exactly is happening during meditation that drives these changes? When you sit in stillness and direct your attention, you are essentially doing strength training for specific neural circuits. The prefrontal cortex, the region directly behind your forehead, is responsible for executive function, decision-making, impulse control, and what scientists call top-down regulation of emotion. Every time you notice your mind has wandered during meditation and gently bring it back, you are activating and strengthening the prefrontal cortex's ability to redirect attention and regulate lower brain responses. Repeat that process thousands of times across weeks and months of practice, and the circuit physically thickens. Sarah Lazar's earlier research, published in 2005, found that long-term meditators had measurably thicker prefrontal cortices compared to non-meditators of the same age. More striking still, the typical cortical thinning associated with aging was significantly reduced in the meditators. Regular practice was not just building brain regions. It appeared to be slowing the brain's aging process. The default mode network is something every neuroscientist knows about, but almost nobody outside the field discusses. This is the brain network that activates when you are not focused on anything specific. It is the mental chatter, the mind wandering, the internal monologue that runs almost constantly in the background of your waking life. Research suggests the average person spends roughly 47% of their waking hours with their mind wandering away from what they are actually doing. Nearly half your life spent somewhere other than the present moment. The default mode network is strongly associated with rumination, anxiety, self-referential thinking, and what psychologists call the narrative self, the ongoing story you tell yourself about who you are, what you lack, and what might go wrong. A Harvard study using experience sampling found that mind wandering was consistently associated with lower reported happiness, regardless of the activity people were engaged in. Your mind wandering is not neutral. It is making you unhappy. Meditation directly quiets the default mode network. Multiple neuroimaging studies have shown reduced activity in this network during meditative states, even in relatively new practitioners. Long-term meditators show this reduced activity not just during practice but as a baseline state throughout their day. The brain has learned, through repeated training, to default to a quieter mode of operation. The noise decreases. What remains is sharper, cleaner attention. This has measurable consequences for mental health. A meta-analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine, reviewing 47 well-designed clinical trials involving over 3,000 participants, found that mindfulness meditation programs produced moderate improvements in anxiety, depression, and pain. These were not trivial effect sizes. They were comparable to the effects seen with antidepressant medications, but without the side effects or the dependency risks. The implications extend into physical health as well. The stress response, when chronically activated, damages the cardiovascular system, suppresses immune function, disrupts sleep architecture, and accelerates cellular aging at the level of telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes. Research led by Nobel laureate Elizabeth Blackburn found that experienced meditators had significantly higher levels of telomerase, the enzyme that maintains telomere length and, by extension, cellular longevity. Meditation was not just changing how people felt. It was changing how their cells aged. What does this mean in practice, and why does it matter for how you live your day? Consider attention first. In a world of infinite distraction, the ability to sustain focused attention is arguably the most valuable cognitive skill a person can possess. Meditation is the only evidence-based practice shown to directly strengthen attentional control at the neural level. Studies using sustained attention tasks show that even short-term meditators outperform controls on measures of focus and cognitive flexibility. Consider emotional regulation second. The reduced amygdala and strengthened prefrontal connection means that trained meditators respond to stressors with measurably less reactivity. They still feel the emotion. The feeling arises. But the gap between stimulus and response is wider, and the response is more measured, more chosen, less automatic. Viktor Frankl described this gap as the foundation of human freedom. Meditation physically builds that gap into your neural architecture. Consider compassion and social connection third. The temporoparietal junction, which grew in Lazar's study, is centrally involved in empathy and the ability to take another person's perspective. Research on loving-kindness meditation specifically shows increases in positive affect and prosocial behavior that persist long after sessions end. You become, measurably, more able to connect with and understand other people. The science is no longer ambiguous. Meditation is not a wellness trend. It is not a relaxation technique or a stress management tool, though it does both. It is a form of deliberate brain training with documented structural and functional consequences that accumulate over time. 8 weeks to begin the changes. Months to deepen them. Years to transform your baseline. The brain you have today is not the brain you are stuck with. Every session is a deposit into an account your future self will draw from. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Sleep Wave for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.